Hello, people of the internet. First off, I always forget, I want to remind everybody to subscribe and go watch my other channel. But I do have another channel that's more highly edited and planned out and whatnot. But I thought, I need more consistent content if I actually want to make it as a YouTuber or whatever. My name's Sean Martin. I'm a video editor. And I guess I'm a YouTuber. I just watched the Lex Fridman podcast with Zuckerberg and their little meta quest, if you will. Grab your coffee, sit down, relax, and let's talk about the future of technology and what it means for us all. And what does all this mean? Is it with the AI? I mean, so much stuff is happening. It's like 1995 all over again. Except I actually know what's going on because I was basically a baby or something in 1995. And I think it may even be more profound than 1995. This is getting towards what the technology from science fiction movies, Star Trek, Star Wars, that type of technology. And the first thing that comes to mind to me is accessibility. There's the Meta Quest, and then there's what Apple's doing with their Vision Pro. It's all expensive, and it's all gonna be first world stuff. I can imagine a world where the haves and have-nots have an even greater distance between each other. The people that have the ability to basically get every answer and do work much faster because they have the ability to access the AI, and they have the ability to even see what's going on if this augmented reality becomes regular reality, as Zuckerberg continuously talked about in the podcast. At least from what I've seen so far, in a lot of ways, I'm more excited about what Apple's doing as a consumer. However, when it comes to accessibility, these big corporations, which only care about basically making money for their investors, that being said, Zuckerberg owns the majority of Meta, therefore that's how he was able to pivot and spend all these billions of dollars against a bunch of executives telling him not to, and he did anyways. And I think that Zuckerberg actually is the lesser of two evils. I think that he means well. He might be kind of like that scientist from Terminator 2 that didn't know what he was doing, but had the best of intentions. Now, horrible things can happen with the best of intentions. I think Zuckerberg actually does mean well. If you drink his Kool-Aid, he seems like, people talk about he lacks emotion and he's a robot and an alien or whatever. But I tend to believe the things that he's saying, even though, his corporation steals Meta, steals lots of everybody's information, just like all the rest, and they may be the worst of them, selling our information to advertisers and stuff like that. In that podcast, he mentioned customer service, which would be a job to have, but people have that job, and AI is most likely going to replace them very, very quickly. Being a video editor, right? Now, podcasts are getting edited by AI, and I'll tell you, you can't trust an AI to edit your podcast from start to finish and actually have it be good and done. Although it might be watchable, especially, just a laid-back podcast like this could probably be edited pretty well with AI, taking out pauses and stuff like that. But you still got to go back and delete the stupid stuff you've said and add in B-roll. And AI could do that now too, I guess. But so far as a video editor, they haven't caught up to a video editor. There's no AI that can edit like I do, and especially, people that edit Hollywood films and tell a good, decent story, at least yet. But customer service, which sucks, right? Because that's bad for, hopefully there's going to be a way to actually talk to a real person. Because although AI is extremely powerful and more powerful than I ever thought it could be in such a quick time, it's still not that impressive. Once the smoke has settled and the hype has died down and we're all using ChatGPT and Bard, I use Claude 2 the most. It's my favorite as far as what I use it for. It's not a person. It's never written something for me that I'm yeah, that's a final product. No. It's more like being able to Google at 1,000 times speed. I know there's people that have generated AI children's books and other books and stuff, but now, Amazon and other book selling companies have basically said you have to disclose that now. And sure, you could probably get AI to write a relatively, good book for a child or any other person and have it be factual and good. But that's going to take effort as well. You're using it as a tool, not as a cheat code, and there's been a lot of people that try to use it as a cheat code, and that's exactly what it is. It's cheating, right? A lot of these like people that have written books with AI get on there and they're basically advertising, especially when they don't disclose how it came about. They're advertising a book for whoever, and people assume it's like written with care, and then it's just a bunch of nonsense. And then when the person that buys it gets it, it's obvious, even if they don't know what AI is, which is rare. They're going to scan it and be like, this guy is crazy, which is another thing that I didn't plan about talking about in this podcast. But it's interesting because now that you have to disclose the AI, it makes it so like the consumer sees it's written by AI and maybe less likely to purchase a book that's written by AI, even though it kind of gives AI a bad name, because there's people that like put a lot of effort into having the right prompts and doing lots of revisions, and it's basically just another way to write a book. It might be a little bit easier, but they did put effort in, right? Or maybe they rephrased their own writing a lot, and now it's kind of all like butched up into one, this basic, in my view, scammers and the people that actually put effort in, and they just happen to be using AI as one of their tools, which is the way AI has helped the world so far. But with all this meta stuff, there's something really eerie to me, and it goes with cell phones too. So many people, the whole meme of everybody on the bus is on their phone listening to headphones, and that still bugs me, right? And now it's just going to be amplified. What bugs me the most about it, especially in your eyeballs, is like everybody talks about like their information being sold to corporations. Well, now with like the Vision Pro, they're tracking your eyeballs, and sure, it's encrypted and it's going to like Apple's cloud or whatever. But like we know, you can look this up, that Apple Cloud is actually, at least at the time when I was researching it, maybe something's changed. I'll put that disclosure out there. But even so, right, they have information. Like you're trusting Apple with that information, and maybe it's all confidential right now and they would never release it, but maybe in 10 years a new CEO happens, or there's a corporate takeover, or something crazy happens, and then suddenly they have like 20 years or however long of information that's like watching your eyeballs and seeing exactly what you're looking at, right? And who knows what kind of stuff they can do with that. Maybe they could steal your personality, right? And put it in a cartoon show. Who knows? I don't know. I'm talking out loud, right? It's an invasion of privacy, and you're signing up for it with the MetaQuest. But what I was getting at before is they don't even own the servers. They rent those servers from other corporations like Nvidia and Google and Amazon. And Google and Amazon especially Amazon has more servers. Like I think it's like 30% of the internet is ran from Amazon servers, and then another percentage is ran by Google and Microsoft, right? The Apple cloud, right? They're renting server space from them. So I don't know, that just seems like there could be a breach of your information anyways, right? And now they're going to be tracking your eyeballs, and talk about like they see what you're scrolling at present day, right? You're on your phone and you're scrolling, and they're seeing, just by how long you stop on a certain post. If you looked at it for 5 minutes, maybe you scrolled sideways, then they know you're interested. They can sell that to advertisers, and suddenly you got a bunch of laptops. That's what they're always advertising me, is standing desks and laptops, because that's what I seem to stop on, and weird cameras and stuff like that. But like now with your eyeballs, they're going to be able to tell like what colors to make it, and then with AI being able to generate different things really quick. Maybe my mom will see like a Coca-Cola thing, and there'll be like more green in it because she's more sensitive to green. I'm just saying. And with me, it's more yellow, right? And it's just a slight variation that kind of tricks the mind, tricks the subconscious into purchasing whatever item. And it opens up this whole world of like questions, right? And then we're already in a world of like have and have nots. You could have had this, I'm gonna argue with myself about that, is like, homeless people have cell phones. They can get smartphones. They're not as good as the ones you can buy for $1,000, but they're good enough. Pretty much everybody has access to Google if they want to have access to Google. But still, at least in the short term, people are going to have information right there. They're going to have connected with AI. They're going to be able to connect with family members and friends and other groups and stuff online throughout the entire world, and it'll give them somewhat of a leg up. And, you know, life isn't fair, but it is a point to be had. And then who runs the AI and who has access to this meta? Who gets to create the metaverse, right? Especially with Apple, and that's why I go back and say I think Zuckerberg's metaverse is the lesser of two evils when it comes to like Apple versus Meta. It's going to be a closed ecosystem versus an open ecosystem. If that, I mean, that's the way he is describing it, and he is talking about he's talking about putting some of the AI as open source and some of the technologies and having a creator economy and stuff like that, where Vision Pro is like teaming up with Disney, you know, so copyright's a huge thing already. Who's building these worlds? Whoever controls these worlds are the ones that control what we think about. I mean, it's already that way with the mainstream media and just the big YouTube channels. And you control information, you control people. And I think they figured that out a long time ago with before the internet, and especially with the birth of the internet. I don't know, it's a lot of questions. As a nerd and a tech enthusiast, of course it excites me. I've always said, I've like never used VR, by the way. Well, I used it a long time ago when I was a kid at the Science Center, and it was basically like, remember Virtual Boy? I don't know if you remember Virtual Boy. The best one that there was one where you climb up this building, and you had this like big glove on, and you climb up this building and grab a hang glider and hang glide down. Had like less than Super Nintendo graphics, but it was a 3D environment. And you had to go to the Science Center to play it. And another one was like you'd look at a screen and it wasn't, you didn't have a headset on or anything. It was just like in front of a screen. It's a lot like the Wii, only it was like 5 years before the Wii or something, and you'd be playing basketball with Michael Jordan. And the reason I haven't done that is because my excitement for VR is such as I want to experience it when it is like insanely crazy, you know. And I think it's gotten to that point. I think it's starting to get to that point anyway with the Lex Fridman podcast and how realistic it all looked. The thing that worries me the most is this vision of a Black Mirror future where the poor people basically live in, you know, the size of like what I'm living in, right? They live in like a box, and then they just, like, their whole world's controlled by VR, right? And they're basically just slaves to VR. But then, you know, it like starts becoming like the Matrix. But then you could argue like I pretty much live that life, except I don't have VR, so it's not as immersive, and maybe it's even worse just like looking at screens, which a lot of us do. But you know what? I still have nature, and I grew up in a time when technology was starting to become mainstream, so I'm not in the generation that grew up with technology, and my sister more is. But like I live in a really rural area, and there's forests all around me, and I learned how to skateboard and snowboard, and I've had a lot of access to like the real world, right? And I don't know what it does. Like, if corporations are the ones controlling the metaverse and being able to control the information, there's this world of like, you can make the population believe anything. And if all the value is in the virtual world, and it's, you know, selling digital merchandise can be unlimited generated, and I don't know, man. It's just crazy. Like, there's this like Black Mirror world that could be the future where everybody lives in a storage unit type thing, and then just lives in VR, works in VR, loves in VR, and we all just kind of tune out the rest of the world. Then again, maybe that could be a good thing. Maybe we could figure out our power issues, and then like we wouldn't be driving and giving off emissions. And I don't know, man. I have so many mixed feelings about this all, and I thought I would share it in a short little conversation. If you have anything to add, if you have anything I missed, I didn't write a script. I just saw the podcast. I just wanted to share it with the world on my second channel right here on Sean Vlog, or whatever it's called now, because it was called Sean Martin Flicks Podcast. Go check out my other channel, subscribe to this one, and I hope to see you in the next one.